The maid who isn't real. My wife's terrifying secret. I am having an affair with our maid. My wife has caught me. There is something strange about the entire situation. My wife and I are both working people. I work in an IT job, and she is a budding lawyer. You can imagine that we run on a tight schedule, and that leaves little to no time for household chores. We live in a 2 BHK apartment in Bangalore, and we had fired our old maid 2 weeks ago as she kept on taking leaves without giving us any notice. So, that made us venture into the job search, our new maid. After 1 month of asking around, my wife found Bindu. Our neighbor in apartment 103B had recommended her to my wife. And needless to say, the moment I laid my eyes upon Bindu, I realized that my wife looked like a leprechaun standing next to her. Bindu's fair skin, her beautiful eyes and face, her slim build. Everything about her just took me in. I wanted to feel some guilt about it, but honestly, can you blame a guy for getting attracted to a beauty like that? So, I decided to have an affair with Bindu. My wife wouldn't have noticed anyway, since I work from home and she goes to the local court. Slowly, over a week, I built a rapport with Bindu, and by her blushing gestures, I guessed that she liked me too. I first initiated a kiss with Bindu on a Tuesday evening, 2 weeks after we had hired her. But unfortunately, that happened to be the last time. We were both sitting on the sofa, leaning in close, when suddenly, I heard the door to our house being opened, and my wife walked into the living room and caught us in the act. I immediately broke apart and backed into a corner, while listening to my wife screaming at Bindu, or seducing her husband, and plenty of other things that are not relevant to the story. But the strangest insult that my wife repeatedly hurled at Bindu was calling her an old hag. By Bindu's looks alone, that insult was weird. Later that evening, after a lot of apologizing, my wife forgave me. Found it weird. She was not generally that forgiving. But I let it go, since I needed to preserve my marriage. One thing, though, remained stuck in my mind. Why did you call Bindu an old hag? She is rather young, is she not? Queried with my wife. What the hell are you talking about? Is your brain okay? She is old enough to be your grandmother. She has wrinkly skin, white hair, and it looks like her knees will give out any day now. I had no reply to that. I felt like this incident hit my wife so hard that she was simply delusional now. But anyway, I decided to stop the affair. It's not worth ruining my marriage over. And explaining the whole situation to my parents would be worse, as they think of me as their well-behaved traditional son. We also decided to keep Bindu around, as losing a maid in this economy wasn't worth it over one indiscretion. That first weird incident with my wife over Bindu's looks seemed like a product of the shocking situation. My wife kept making more and more bizarre claims as time passed. The second incident happened over a disagreement about our son. Just yesterday, Bindu was singing a beautiful lullaby to our 1-year-old. She kept on singing for 4 hours, just sitting in one place, gently rocking the red cradle. I remember going for a nap at 1 p.m. and waking up at 4 p.m., and she was still sitting in the exact same place, singing the same words over and over. "Oh, little baby, you are so cute, we will drown you in a well." The lyrics may seem alarming, but that's just because she is from a nearby village, and villages have odd lyrical lullabies. In my sleepy state after waking up, I hallucinated for a minute straight. Kept looking at Bindu's feet, and they were turned backward. I rubbed my eyes, and when I looked again, they were normal. Later, I confronted my wife about not taking care of our son. After all, Bindu was obviously doing a better job than me. My wife looked at me like I was crazy. "We have no son, and we really need to get you checked by a doctor." "What? We have a 1-year-old, how could you forget? And you should pay more attention to him. Bindu sang a lullaby to him for 4 hours today. Takes way better care of him than you do." "Ugh, I am divorcing you. You seem to be hallucinating things that aren't there. And another thing, Bindu took a leave today. He sent me a message on WhatsApp. Oh, whatever it is you keep seeing, it's not Bindu. It's just your brain going schizophrenic. But we have a son together. How could you just forget about him? My brain clung to that question because that seemed like the most important thing right then. Among the abnormal incidents around our house and my wife's losing grip on reality. Making lies about our maid was one thing. Lying about our son? That was a new low. Oh, really? Then tell me the name of this son you keep talking about. What does he look like? What's his birth date? Where is he right now? Because I don't see any 1-year-old babies around here. Where's his toy box? Cradle? My wife asked, raising an eyebrow. I opened my mouth to answer, but it just stretched wide for a minute. I tried to remember these details, but my mind couldn't recall anything. My wife kept looking at me with a mixture of anger and nervousness, as if she had been proven right. I finally managed to close my mouth and huffed as I went to sleep. She slept in the other bedroom, not wanting to be around me. The third weird incident happened when my wife tearfully told me she was leaving the house, as she had seen Bindu crawling on all fours on the walls in my bedroom last night. I once again told my wife she was crazy. It was true that I had secretly called Bindu to our home at 1 a.m. to take care of our crying son in the living room, as my wife had locked her bedroom door to sleep and apparently didn't care for him at all. But he stopped making a racket after 15 minutes of Bindu singing her signature lullaby to him and rocking his red cradle. She really was a good caretaker of my child. I slept soundly after that. I told my wife as much, and she screamed at me, "We do not have a child. I think we've invited a Chudile into our house. Do you want to live? Get out of the house already." She ran outside our home sobbing after that, taking her luggage with her. For those who don't know, a Chudile is the Indian equivalent of a creepy witch, like the ones you see in The Ring, except her trademark is that her feet are backward. I wondered if my wife would ever regain her sanity, since Bindu is no Chudale. I tried to remember what happened last night to gather some solid proof that my wife was crazy, and that I was sane. Because the events in my home are making me question my own sanity. I checked my call log and WhatsApp messages, hoping to find some proof that I'll Bindu to take care of our son. There was nothing. In fact, Bindu's contact details were nowhere on my phone. I am getting frustrated now. Somehow, I had fallen asleep immediately after checking Bindu's contact details, and now I have woken up. It is 1 in the morning, and my son is crying in the living room in his red cradle. Looks like I need to call Bindu again.